welcome. Okay, so this is the fourth video I've done in a style like this, and what I'm doing is I'm trying to ascertain or get a sense of what is going on when I go to cons. Like when I'm in Artist Alley, I really want to know, is it worth my time? Is it worth the return on investment? And I've been doing like a deep dive into these, and I need to find out which cons are worth it. What am I doing wrong? Do I have to change things up? Like, it could be as simple as that con is not good, like not good for anything I want to do. It could be my setup, it could be my location, you know, it could be my product, it could be many things. But, you know, we just want to take a deep dive and figure things out. So this is the fourth one I'm doing. This one is about CK Expo. Now, I've done CK Expo a couple times now. Out of the surviving cons, I've probably done this one the most. It's not too far from me. It's not in my home city, but it's in a place called Chatham. So that's in Chatham, Kent. It's in Ontario. And I'm really crossing my fingers on this one because it's kind of like almost like a home base, and I want them to do well, and I want it to do well for me because, you know, it's a great con. The people that put on it are fantastic. They're absolutely amazing. So let me just start by saying, before I went to the con, I decided to do a hand-drawn 11 by 17 poster for them. So this is the original artwork that I did for them. It's based off of their mascots for their con, or for the whole event. And so yeah, I've never drawn their characters. It's also a cartoony style, which isn't what I normally do. It's not that I'm not capable of doing it. I've done cartoons many times in my life, you know. I even went to school for animation when I was young, back in the 90s. That was a long time ago. And when I say went to school for it, we went to school, and it was like there wasn't computers when you were learning back then. It was all hand-drawn, you know, like flipping and drawing. But anyways, so let's get into this. You know, there's a lot of videos I've seen and I've kind of looked at about people, you know, giving their kind of reviews on cons at them too, and you know, they're talking about how much money they made, and you know, I'm just like, wow, you know, that's incredible. But they really, and no offense to them, but they really don't get into everything that goes into it, how much things actually cost, what their real profit is, you know. Like, if they say, oh, I made like $800 or $10,000, it's like, no, you really didn't make that. You made way less than that because you're not factoring in a lot of things. So what I usually do is, like, the first thing is you have to advertise. You know, you have to bring awareness to yourself that you're going to be at that con. So the first thing I always do is social media, right? So I make social media posts. For this one, I made 6 social media posts, and it was to bring awareness to basically each kind of thing that I was selling. I mean, first there was initially like 1 week to go posts and one day to go posts and things like that. But you know, like I do a post about like, these are the prints I'm selling. These are the sketch cards I'm selling. These are the sketch covers I'm selling. These are my art books or independent comic books or whatever, right? But I made 6 of those, and essentially what I do is like, I equate how much time did it take me to create the graphics, how much time did it take me to post the graphics, and so on and so forth. Now, it doesn't take me too long to do it, maybe like 15 minutes to create and post, and I essentially, you have to factor that in to a cost, right? Like, how much did it cost? So I paid myself minimum wage in Ontario for this. I mean, obviously I should be paying myself more for anything I do, but I just keep things down to like minimum wage so that I know the basics, right? Like, eventually I'll raise that price when I'm doing these or factor these in, but I really want to see if things succeed. So for social media posts, I did 6 of them, right? And, you know, if I I paid myself like $15.50 an hour, which is minimum wage in Ontario. So that brings the total to $23.25. So essentially, I should have paid myself $23.25. So that's a cost that goes against like your profit, right? Now, as I said, the con isn't too far away, and you also have to factor in like how much did it cost you to drive there, right? Or if you're flying or whatever. But since I drove there, it's not too far. It's like 75.1 kilometers each way. So that's like 150.2 kilometers, whatever. And if I figure out how much gas I spent, it's going to be, for both of that there and back, $22.53. Another factor you have to bring into is like what kind of food you buy, right? Like, so you probably buy meals at the con, or snacks for the road, or snacks while you're at your table or whatever. Generally, I don't buy a meal when I'm at cons, because if I can, I don't have to, and I'll just snack and graze all day. So my food and such, like everything, kind of costs around $20, like drinks or whatever. And like that's including like drinks for on the trip there and back, or something to snack on, junk food. I know it's not the healthiest, but it's what I get to. So yeah, anyway, so we drove to the con, and we got there and it was all good. So loading in and setting up, it was really easy. There was a nice big bay door where you could just pull your like equipment or your stuff onto the floor. It wasn't bad. Finding my table was easy. People were friendly and nice. So we have to keep in mind that you have to start to also factor in the cost for your table and such. So the cost for the table at CK Expo for me this time was nothing. It was actually nothing. They gave it to me for free. They wanted me to be there, and that was amazing. And I can't say like enough like thank you. That was awesome. Because that can be a big chunk of whatever profit you're making. But they offered to me this like many months ago, before I even drew them like that 11x17. It was just the kindness of their hearts, and that's great. But typically, just so you guys know, for CK Expo, I believe the table is around $90, and it was like an 8-foot table, so that's not bad. But anyway, so I'm not subtracting that, so we're still at like $65.78. Now, you also have to factor in like the costs of your table, your display, your signs, and so on and so forth. So I don't put everything in the bill, because some things have been paid for long ago and been made back during the cons in the previous years. But for me right now, there's basically a few items that I have to keep subtracting. So one of them is my revolving pegboard shelf. And I'm dividing that by 10 because that's how many cons I'm doing, so it's like evenly spread out. So that shelf, it cost me like $315.26. So I divide that by 10, so there's like $31.52 that I kind of have to put into a cost, right? My portable display panels, which are behind me, that was a very expensive item, but I love them. It's so great. So that cost me $708.17. So that's another cost. So that's like $70.81. My business cards, which I printed way back, hopefully enough to manage through the next 10 cons, like in total. So that cost me like $73.71 for like 500 business cards. So I minus another $7.31. And any signage that I print up. And, I was thinking of making new signs, but I'm still using the ones I'm doing. Prices are still the same. And, I just kind of destroyed the last ones that I printed overall. So There's going to be no cost to signage, but definitely for the next con, I need to print new signs because, like, when I put them up or tape them up, they get destroyed and battered in the process, you know, between cons, and eventually they're no good. So we're going to make some new ones, and I'm definitely thinking of making even bigger signs, you know, just so that people can see it far away. They can see the prices, and they know, you know, because the last time you have to sit there and spend at your table going, how much is this, or is that even for sale, or whatever, you know. So those costs end up being $109.64. So that's going to bring the total cost of like this whole experience and going to this con right now to $175.42. It's a one-day con, so that's great. I actually prefer one-day cons. You don't have to get hotels. You don't have to go there and back. It's, you know, there and done, you know, all the energy. All right, drink time. All right, so we're going to get into what we sold. So, sketch covers. So these are my big ticket items because they're really expensive because they're one of a kind originals, and I always cross my fingers that somebody's going to buy a sketch cover while they're there. But unfortunately, no sketch cover sold, and I'm really going to have to keep this in mind because I'm trying to factor this in because I have to make sure and know, have they sold at any of the cons? Because eventually it's like, is this even a product or an item that I want to bring to cons anymore? Because if no one's willing to spend a decent amount of money on some original artwork, then why bother bringing them? You know, it's not that I should not stop doing them because I know that they sell. They do sell for me. Pretty much, you know, every one I've drawn is sold. I've done like 250 sketch covers in my time. I think I may have like 8 that haven't sold yet, and part of that is because I haven't made some of those available yet because I've been trying to keep them for the con so that people have something to buy. But that being said, gonna move on. Sketch cards. So this is something I'm still relatively new to. It's something I started doing like in the past year, and I'm not saying that I'm horrible at them because just from doing them, you know, I've worked now on the Ultraman Series 2 set. I was contacted by Dynamite, so I'm working on Red Sonja set, and I'm also, and coming very soon, I'm going to be working on an Avengers set. So people have noticed, like especially people that are talent kind of scouts or whatever, have noticed the quality of my sketch cards, and they have asked me to do some official license stuff. That being said, sketch cards, I sold a couple of them, and it seems like I sell a couple of them each time. So I sold a Baroness sketch card, I sold my Butcher sketch card, and this Butcher sketch card was actually signed by Carl Urban. Unfortunately, I never got a picture or a scan of it with the signature, but you know, that was a really expensive purchase for someone, and like, wow, thank you so much. I sold a Spider-Man sketch card, and I sold one of my artist-proof Ultraman sketch cards, which I only have a very limited amount that I can sell, right? So the total money I made off sketch cards was like $240.39. But I didn't actually make that, right? Because I have to think of, you know, how much it costs. So when I think of like, you know, the sketch cards themselves, like this one that I'm working on right now, I have to, let's see, there, kind of see. I print my own personal ones, you know, and that costs money to have those printed and made. I'll show you real quick. I'm working on that. But anyways, it's not finished, but anyways. So the printing of those, you know, it basically costs me like 23 cents per card. So I got to factor that in. So with how many that is, like that's 92 cents. I put them in a Ultra Pro One Touch case so that they're protected. They're nice to display. It also, you know, is an added thing for people that purchase it, you know. So those are basically about $2 a unit. So that's going to cost like $8. I also have to think of the labor, like how much time it took to draw, and if I pay myself minimum wage, that's going to be about $62. Now, the other thing is, like, even though I sold that Carl Urban sketch card, I also have to figure in the cost of when I was at Toronto Comic Con, getting that signature, and the signature cost me $100. So that's definitely not profit you make. You got to take that off. So that total of the production costs and what those cards actually cost is like $170.92. So my profit from selling those is actually $69.47. So taking that from like the total that we had, of what the con's costing, now it's only cost me $105.95. I make some art books, and they're usually, and well, they are right now, the only ones that I left they're like a regular comic book, so they're like 32 pages, and each page features like one of the sketch covers I've drawn. So I make a very limited amount of these, like usually under 40 of them, just so that I can sell some to people that can't afford like an actual sketch cover, like original art, but they love it and they love to have like some of the art. So at least this way they get like a whole book full. I sold one of my art books number 4, and I sold one of my art books number 6. 6 is the current and the newest one. Eventually, pretty soon, I'll probably do my art book number 7. So the total price that I made off of that was $17.70. And that's how much profit I sell it for. Like, I sell it for 20, but they both sold like on a square. And so therefore my total profit was $35.40. And kind of let me explain that. Like, I sold it on my square, so the square takes a fee, so it takes a chunk out of your profit there, so you don't actually make like $20 or something like that. So that total was $35.40, but again, we got to take off the production costs. So printing of the books is like, each one is like $7.11, right? So that's $14.22 that comes off of that. The bag and board, for it is like another $4.76. So really the total profit was $18.98. Sorry, that comes to $18.98. So my profit was $16.42. Okay, so kind of messed all that up a bit, but just so you understand, even though I sold 2, they sell for 20 each, I was actually taking home $16.42, right? I sold one of the Sentinels. Now, the Sentinels is an independent comic book I made back in like 2012. I have like a small handful left, and I would have continued on with it, but I didn't have the following or awareness to actually make it worth it. It didn't sell enough, so I kind of gave up on it, right? I was like halfway through issue number 2, and I just said, yeah, you know what, I'm sitting on a stack of issue number 1. If this doesn't move, then what's the sense of keep going on it? So I decided we're going to stop that, we're going to pause that, we're going to wait to do our own kind of independent kind of work, create our own kind of stuff until we have a large enough following on some kind of social media platform or multiple of them, just so that it's actually worth my time to create something that somebody's going to actually want to see. So I sold one of those, and I've been selling them for like $10, but it sold on the square. So my actual money that I got from it was like $8.85. But again, I have to take off the printing, the bag and the board, and everything like that. And sadly, and I just realized this, and I didn't know, my total profit from selling one of those is I lost 64 cents. So either I have to up the price on them, or just resign myself to saying, yeah, we're gonna lose like 64 cents off each one. But in reality, we're not totally losing 64 cents. It's like money we already spent. It's like cutting the damage of what was done in the past, down. so that we're not losing like $10 worth or whatever, or so on and so forth. So, that with all that, it brings us down to like $90.17 that the cons cost. So we move on to prints. Now I still have a few of these I Am Batman prints that I showed in my last video. They're like long. They were a sketch cover, and I drew or sketch covers, and I drew like every Batman actor except for like the 1940s black and white one. But they're all stitched together, and it's an expensive print because of the odd size of it. So I've been selling those for like $30, but I mean it cost me like $15 to print them. So my total profit from selling 2 of those is $30. So that's going to bring our total down to $60.17. Now, 11 by 17 prints. So this is something that seems to be a better seller at cons, and I think I've always thought about trying to phase them out because I'd rather be just selling original artwork, but without them I don't think I'd be able to do cons because I'd never make enough money. So I sold 2. Oh yeah, I made some new prints this time of sketch covers I've done, and I thought I'll try these out and we'll see. So I sold 2 of my Stan Lee. I sold 2 of Batman Who Laughs. I sold 1 of Data, 1 of Riker, 2 of Carnage, 2 of Doctor Strange, 1 of the Hulk, 1 of Thanos. Then I also sold 1 of my Storm prints. I have very few of these left. This one's going to be phased out. I sold 3 of my Harley Quinn, and I have very few of these left. I'm going to phase them out. I sold 2 of Supergirl, which I really want to phase out because this was just an experiment, because I seen like, other people, draw this kind of sexy crap and they get tons and tons of views and likes, and I thought, I'll try it. I just don't feel comfortable doing it. It's not me. I don't like it, so I really want to get rid of it. And eventually it'll be gone. So that's all I'm hoping. I sold, what did I say? We're at Supergirl. Okay, yeah, I sold 1 Catwoman, 1 of my Venom Spider-Man, 3 of what I call the Web of Spider-Man, 1 of Spawn, 1 of Black Widow, 1 of my 007 Batman prints, 1 of my Omni-Man vs. Homelander, and I sold 1 of my Heroes and Villains prints, which is actually 2 prints together because they're 11 by 17 and they fit together. So from all that, I have to also think like, okay, if I sell them for $10 a piece, I make profit, but there's also tiers, right? So like if you buy like 3 prints, you get it cheaper. If you buy 5 prints, you get it even cheaper. So I kind of have to go through and figure out how much did I actually make, from selling them. So the total was $241.57. Now, again, we have to think of our production costs. The printing per unit, like, so out of all those, it would have cost me like $40.89. And then the plastic sleeves on top of that I put them in, that's like another $46.40. So that total is $87.29. Which brings the profit of selling the prints to $154.28. So if we think about the expenses that I had, which was $175.42, like the cost of the whole con, versus my profit of like $269.53, that means for the day I made $94.11. So it's actually good. We actually made it through. We made some money. In the future, like not this year, but next year, I'm going to start to factor in the time that you're at the con, the time it takes to travel there. Like you have to pay yourself per hour, like even if it's a minimum wage. But we're going to factor that in maybe next year when we start doing these analyses again. But for now, we're going to keep it as is, and it's like $94.11. So that's good. So that means I'm definitely going to go to CK Expo next year. And it's also going to be I believe their 10th anniversary. So this will be their 10th one they've ever done. So they're probably going to try and plan some big things and boost the event up even more. So it will definitely be worth it. So if you're in the area and you think that you should do a small local con in a smaller town, I think CK Expo is a great one to do. The next con I'm going to do is Stratford, and that's going to be on June 4th. Before that, though, like on Saturday, which maybe after this video may be already posted, I'm going to be at Free Comic Book Day. I'm going to be at Paper Heroes. Now, that's one of my local comic book shops. I have like 3 in the city, but there's only 2 that I really deal with: Rogues and Rogues Comics Gallery, or Rogues Gallery Comics, and Paper Heroes Comics and Collectibles. Well, we're going to see what it's like for Free Comic Book Day being there. I've never really done something where I'm just going to sit there during the day at an actual store and sell stuff. And who knows, maybe I'll actually make more money than what I do at cons. Who knows? Anyways, thanks everybody, and we'll talk to you again soon.